Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up. You're hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I hope that work week's in the rearview mirror. If it's not, we will get you to the finish line here, whether it's me until 3 o'clock or Matt Moscona from 3 to 6 a little bit later on. Preston Guy from TigerBait.com is going to join us in 15 minutes to talk football. LSU will be on the practice field. Well, not really the practice field, the real field inside Tiger Stadium tomorrow. We'll certainly be there, and we'll talk about that with Preston in 15 minutes. Jason Caldwell covers Auburn and has for 2 decades for Inside the Auburn Tigers. We'll talk to him about a big 3-game set coming up this weekend from Plainsman Park. Nico Iamaleava is in the news because he's not practicing. We may talk about that a little bit later. Got some Saints to get to in the SEC baseball weekend that is afoot. We'll get into some of that as well. So let's do things the way we do them every day and start with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Extended road trip for LSU baseball. They were in Norman, Oklahoma last weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Hit the road at Thibodaux on Tuesday. They won all 4 of those games. Now they'll finish up a 7-game road swing at Auburn inside a newly renovated Plainsman Park over the weekend. And it's a big series for both teams. You're looking at an Auburn team that is 6-6 in SEC play. And has played a pretty tough schedule. Alabama has a good team. Vanderbilt's got a good team. Georgia is very good. Of course, LSU on the schedule this weekend is an excellent team as well. So you're talking about an Auburn team that has been tested and I think has done a pretty good job. Yes, they did get swept in Athens, but they were competitive in all 3 games on the road. And sometimes you just come out on the short end of that stick. But I think it's a good team. I think it's an NCAA tournament team. And I think it's a team that if it has things break the right way, could potentially get into the hosting mix in the next 4 weeks. Now, that being said, I do think there are some flaws to this Auburn team, and we'll get into it, but I want to start with LSU. This team right now is playing such good baseball. They defensively are very good. You have not had the extended issues at third base that you thought you might have early when Tanner Reeves kicked the ball around a little bit. Stephen Milam and Daniel Dickinson has been sensational. Luis Hernandez has really cleaned things up behind the dish. And then in the outfield, you're excellent. Derek Curiel is a highlight machine out there in left field. Chris Stanfield, former Auburn Tiger, is been doing a great job in center field. You saw a little bit of that last week as well. And then in right field, whether it's been Josh Pearson or Jake Brown, you've gotten quality defense. And I think this week, defense is going to be a big deal at Auburn. Here's why. Auburn strikes out fewer times than any team in the SEC. Now, LSU is second in the league in strikeouts as a pitching staff, but I think Auburn's going to make that mission difficult. And I say that because Vanderbilt leads the SEC in ERA. They're third in the SEC in strikeouts, and they went to Plainsman Park to open SEC play, and they only struck out Auburn 15 times in 3 games. Keep in mind, Cade Anderson had that last week. So this is a team that's difficult to strike out. They're going to put the ball in play. You've got to catch the baseball. And I think that is a huge, huge key to the game this weekend. And I also think it may influence some of Jay Johnson's decisions. Now, tonight, you're facing Sam Dutton, a right-hander. I'll talk about that in a second. You're going to see Cade Fisher a little bit in the game on Saturday. I'll give you Cade Fisher's backstory because we got a second here. He was at Florida as a true freshman in 2023 when LSU played them in the national final, and he was a really good bullpen arm as a freshman for that Florida team that nearly won the national championship. LSU saw him twice in the championship series, and he was supposed to be the next dude. You saw Brady Singer move on, not Brady Singer. I was thinking Hurston Waldrop move on from Southern Miss to Florida and then to the draft, and their ace moved on from that team as well. And then you saw that Cole Fisher was supposed to be next, and Cade Fisher was supposed to be next, and it didn't really work out. and he looked at the transfer portal. He's at Auburn, and he hasn't been great this year either. His walk numbers are way, way high, 17 in just over 21 innings pitched, and he's a left-hander that you're going to see. But I'm not sure that LSU's not going to give Michael Braswell extended playing time in this weekend because you've got to catch the baseball, and he's been a little bit better defender than Tanner Reeves to this point. But again, just put the bow on that. Like, I think defense is a big, big deal this weekend. Now, Sam Dutton is worth a discussion here because Sam Dutton has had a really nice go of it as the Friday night guy for Auburn. Last week against Alabama, he was phenomenal. He threw 7 innings of shutout baseball, just 2 hits, only allowed 2 walks as well, struck out 6. He's not a massive strikeout guy, but he's been an efficient guy and a guy that's worked deep into games. His fastball is what it was at LSU. It's 92, 93, and he's going to throw that kind of short slider. It's not a big bender. I wouldn't necessarily call it the tightest slider you've ever seen, but it goes up there and it just darts a little bit. The key with Sam Dutton is that he throws a lot of strikes. That's what is his best quality as a pitcher. He will not blow you away. It's not a devastating breaking ball. Doesn't have command of 4 or 5 pitches. He throws it over the plate with some firmness to it, and he'll spin a breaking ball if he needs to. And that's what he was at LSU, and that's what he will be at Auburn. And it's worked out better at Auburn than it did at LSU. Now, he didn't get a lot of extended goes at LSU. I mean, famously, in the first year Jay Johnson was here in 2022, Sam Dutton got an SEC start. The first pitch he threw got hit off the wall for a double, and he was taken out of the game. You don't see that very often. A starting pitcher go out there, throw 1 pitch, and then be taken off the mound. You've got to have a plan for that, which involves somebody warming up as the game is starting. So while he didn't get a long leash at LSU, he did pitch in some pretty important games. He started 9 SEC games in 2022, and then he pitched in a regional final in 2022 in the Sunday night game that LSU lost in Hattiesburg. He also started the Monday game last year in Chapel Hill before you saw the heroic effort from Will Helmers to keep LSU in that game. I think he'll have a little bit of extra motivation tonight. I think he'll have a chip on his shoulder to pitch against LSU, to pitch against the coaching staff that didn't necessarily give him a ton of run. He got a lot of starts. He didn't get a lot of chances to extend. When he saw some trouble, he generally came out of the game. I'm curious about this. My gut, this is what my gut tells me, and my gut's wrong plenty. My gut tells me that LSU is going to do some damage on Sam Dutton tonight. I don't find him to be a dominant Friday night arm. I don't see him to be on the level of Kyson Witherspoon. I don't see him to be on the level of Jared Spencer. I don't see him to be on the level of Pico Khan. These are arms that LSU has seen in games this year. I think he's a Sunday guy in the SEC. Now, he went out there last week and shoved. And against Vanderbilt, he was very good. He had some bumpy outings against Georgia and Kentucky. In those 2 outings combined, you saw him go 9 1/3 innings, 12 hits, 8 earned runs, and 11 strikeouts and 2 walks. So even in the outings where he got hit a little bit, he didn't walk anybody. So you got to earn it off of Sam Dutton. I think LSU will tonight. I think Sam Dutton probably exits this game in the 3rd or 4th inning. That's what my gut tells me, but certainly we'll have to see. On the other side, I will be watching Cade Anderson very closely. Y'all have heard by now my thoughts on his outing last week. That's in the rearview mirror. What does it mean for this week? And just because he gets hit this week doesn't mean it was a terrible decision to go him 135 pitches. But I want to see the command. I want to see the radar gun. And I want to see how long he can last in this game. I think we're in an unknown with Cade Anderson on 2 perspectives tonight. 1, this is the most innings he's ever thrown in a college season. 2, he's coming off 135 pitches. So while everything to this point has kind of been building up, you're not building beyond 135 pitches in a complete game. Now it's maintenance. It's maintaining the level that you saw. And I'm not saying he has to go throw 9 shutout innings again. I'm just saying he needs to look like he has looked. And my gut tells me that he will. But that's just something we're going to have to see when the lights come on tonight at Plainsman Park. This is an Auburn team that's got a couple of old bats in Ike Irish and Cooper McMurray that have been great this year. They're both hitting over 325, 7 and 8 home runs respectively, so 15 total. Those guys have been really key pieces for Auburn for 3 years. Combined, they have over 1,000 at-bats at Auburn. So they are the guys that make this thing go. A little play on words on LouisianaSports.net today. You've got Ike Irish and Cooper McMurray, which sounds Irish. You got a little bit of a theme there with those guys. It's easy to tie them together. They're very good. Both hit from the left side of the plate. Cade Anderson has struggled against left-handed hitters this year, so that's something to watch for in the game tonight. Beyond those two guys, you've got a host of freshmen, and we'll talk to Jason Caldwell about it in 20 minutes, that have really come on for Auburn in the lineup, and then also as far as the pitching staff goes. So this is a good Auburn team. I don't think it's a great team. I think they're probably right on Oklahoma's level. I don't think they're on Texas's level to this point. They're better than Mississippi State. So the standings kind of bear all that out. I'm not breaking any news to you there. This will be a tough challenge for LSU to go on the road to Plainsman Park. As I sit here today, it's 1:10 on Friday afternoon. They start this thing up in just under 5 hours. I would sign up for 2 out of 3 and get on out of there. I think it's likely that LSU loses a game here. I think it's possible that LSU could drop the series, but I feel better about LSU's team than I do Auburn's team. I think LSU's a better team, and I think they're going to hit Sam Dutton tonight. You look at game 2 with Fisher versus Ianson. I think that slightly favors LSU. You look at game 3, Auburn does not have an announced starter, and you've got Chase Shores going if you're LSU. By now, you know the game plan for LSU. It's pretty simple. The first time you can get a lead through 5 or 6 innings, you get either Evans or Cowan up, and then you ride those guys when the time comes. Hopefully that's later rather than sooner with Cade Anderson on the mound, but that's the game plan for LSU for sure. I'm fascinated to watch this thing. LSU's in position to continue to make the math favor them, especially if you can go on the road. This is the back end of a 7-game road trip. You will have played as of Monday 3 of your first 5 series on the road. You've got 3 of your 5 series remaining at home. Now, 2 of those are very difficult because you've got Arkansas and Tennessee coming in. But it should be a really competitive weekend there at Plainsman Park, and it'll start tonight with Cade Anderson and Sam Dutton. We'll talk about all of it with Jason Caldwell of Inside the Auburn Tigers when at the bottom of the hour at 1:30. So that's our opening drive. It's brought to you by Genesis. When we come back, Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, talking a little bit of football on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Look, I know a lot of folks don't love to go to the dealership. It's been a negative experience for decades. Feel like there's salespeople swarming you, feel like you're being upsold, maybe not being the most honest, and can feel like a pressure-packed situation. That's never, ever, ever going to be the case at Genesis. You're going to deal with one of their brand ambassadors, and they're there to help you as a guest. They're not there to sell you as a customer. Get behind the wheel. See that difference. Learn about the great safety features. See all those bells and whistles, whether it's the entry level, whether it's sedan, all the way up to the SUV, no matter what your family situation is, there is a Genesis for you. Check out the inventory at genesisbatonrouge.com, and if you'd like them to come to you as opposed to going to the dealership, that can be made possible. Just have one of those brand ambassadors drive to your office, to your home. You can get a test drive, and they can deliver the car right there to you, do an e-contract. You never set foot on the lot. I would suggest you do because it's a phenomenal facility with a great staff. But either way, they're there to make you comfortable at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
If you're having a big family get-together next weekend for the Easter holiday and you're thinking, how am I going to feed these 20 people? That's going to be a lot. I got an idea for you. Corks. They're fantastic with their catering. They can get you a big tray of the crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, big tray of those French fries. Get your honey butter rolls as well. Feed the whole family. You don't have to lift a finger. Just give them a day's notice or so, and they can have you all taken care of over there at Corks. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Bring you our Friday shows each and every week. Part of those Friday shows each and every week, Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, talking LSU football. We'll see the Tigers on the field inside Tiger Stadium tomorrow morning. I'm sure Preston will be there. Let's talk about it. Preston, how are you?
I will, Hunt. And you know what is the strangest thing about being in Tiger Stadium for a non-spring game practice is that they're going to keep on practicing next week.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I found that out yesterday.
Me too. I just assumed that, okay, we're done now. And, you know, it'll be an unglorified spring game. But no, they're just going to do a practice and then keep on going afterward, which just, that messed with my head in ways that I didn't even think to ever think of, because it's always just like, okay, you do all your practices and then, you go out with a big hoorah for the spring game, and you're just going to keep on going after the open practice this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you know how the sausage is made here at LouisianaSports.net. I wrote a story kind of previewing what to watch for if you go to the practice, and I wrote in the lead, like, they'll conclude spring practice on Saturday, and Matt read it before he posted. He was like, nope, they're not done on Saturday. They have more. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they have more practice next week. So I had to go out in and change the story before we published it. So I was right there with you. I had no idea until yesterday that they weren't finishing tomorrow. But we'll get a little bit of a look tomorrow. I'll toss you some answers to give you a little bit of multiple choice. But what freshman has the best chance of grabbing a starting role in the fall? Is it DJ Pickett? Is it? I mean, is that probably the guy? Is it maybe somebody else that we're not thinking of?
Yeah, I'll go DJ Pickett, but that's kind of almost a boring answer at this point. It's like, in 2019, like, oh, yeah, do you think Derek Stingley Jr. is going to have a chance to maybe play this year? Let's get a little spicy here and say Carius Kern.
I was going to ask you about him.
Thomas. Yeah, both those guys look really good, and I think, look, they're intentionally not showing us much of their starting lineup this fall. They've given us very little 11-on-11 action, and it's very clear to me that, and this is out of character for Brian Kelly since he arrived here, but they are withholding lineup information from us, not like in a deceitful manner, just like they don't want all this out there, because I think that's a sign of they're trying to take their time and evaluate and figure things out. So that being said, offensive line is clearly a spot where, there's 4 open positions, 5 if you want to count potentially DJ Chester moving to another role. And there's a lot of potential. There's not a single player who has just their teeth sunk in and locked into a position, So technically anybody could come in and play well enough to get a starting position at any 5 spots.
Let's go to the other side of the ball, to the defensive backfield. I've written a couple times and said that I've just liked the way I've seen Deshaun Spears in some reps at safety in the spring. I'm not suggesting he's the first team All-SEC player today, but I've noticed him a couple times. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he physically looks the part, and that's nothing new. I think there's some buzz about, how is he going to handle, tackling. They want him to be more physical, more of a presence. Getting guys on the ground and playing a more physical role. But, certainly a talented player. He's a big body. I guess the concerning part of what I just said is, if they're looking for him to improve as a tackler, and we're talking about a guy who is 6'3", 205, just off the top of my head, that's what I would guess his measurables are. Usually it's not what you hear about a guy of that size. Usually it's like, yeah, the big safety, we need to work on his man coverage, but boy, he can play physical. So little bit of a strange critique there of him that we're getting through the grapevine. But they recruited the way they did at DB in the portal for a reason. And there's certainly guys, this is why I always talked about depth, Hon, is if you have an issue and a guy doesn't pan out the way he is, well, think about guys like, all right, does Mansour Delane have what it takes? Because he can tackle. For a corner, he's a very good tackler. So a lot of guys you could see pick up that slack if he's unable to play the way we think he will play next year.
If you were to poll 10 big LSU fans as of November 30th, said, okay, give me one player you think is going to enter the transfer portal from LSU, I would imagine multiple people would have said Caleb Jackson's name. We don't know and certainly don't talk to him, and he has not. Does that surprise you, one, and do you think he's got a role moving forward in this program?
Well, I mean, you've seen, we just talked about how these starting lineups are suspect at best, but he's been your second running back. And you look at who they bring back, and, it's not a super deep room in terms of volume of guys, right? Now, I think they've got good quality players. They really like Caden Durham as their one. And then you bring in true freshman out of New Orleans, 5-star Harlem Berry, who's going to factor in pretty nicely. But, it's just not a ton of guys there to get him super buried. So, yeah, it is a bit of a surprise. I hope he leans up and works on his burst and acceleration and ability to find the hole. But yeah, that's a guy typically when you're positioned and poised to have a breakout season and you go the opposite direction and you have a very underwhelming season despite every opportunity to take the reins and make it yours. Typically in this era, guys hit the portal, but I'd be lying if I said it isn't refreshing to see a guy deal with some adversity and battle through it. I mean, it's rare in this day and age.
In my head, I'm just thinking, well, what if I recalibrate expectations and I say, okay, Caden Durham is going to take 70% of the carries, and he's going to be the guy that they hope runs for 102 yards a game. And then if you could have Caleb Jackson late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter with fresh legs at whatever he is, 230 pounds or whatever, like that's a guy you probably don't want to tackle all that often if you've been chasing Caden Durham around for a while. Like if I say, well, I don't need him to run for 1,200 yards, but if he's just a menace for 2 drives a game, like that, there's a role there, I would think.
Well, he's got to improve from last year because one of the big problems was it just took so long for him to get up to full speed. We saw in practice when he got hit on a swing pass, he was destroying people. I mean, he is a big, bulking, physical back, but I think he gained so much weight, it took too long to get to full speed, and all of a sudden you have this big, bulking power back who, because it takes him so long to get any power generated, I mean, every time he would get hit, he sat straight down to the ground. So, no, I mean, if he plays the way he played last year, no. He's going to have to work on that. So we'll see if he works on it. I would really like to see him lean up and generate some power to where we can start seeing situations like, okay, you got hit at 1 yard past the line of scrimmage, but you lowered a shoulder and turned it into a 3-yard gain instead of, well, offensive line didn't block for you and you just took a seat and gain of 0 yards. You know what I mean? Like that's just hard to get anything going when it takes so long to build your momentum up.
Yeah, there's no question about that, and hopefully he has lost a little bit of weight and can get up to that top speed a little bit more quickly. Last thing here, defensive tackle. How are we feeling about year 2 for Dominic McKinley and Ahmad Bro?
Yeah, 2 young, bright young sophomores. They look sharp. They look crisp. And then I guess the big question is there, Jacobian Gilreath is, you don't often look at a 6-year senior and say that's an X factor, but how is he going to heal? You got 2 young bucks looking like they might take over, but is he going to be able to come in and be an immediate starter and catch up right where he left off? Or is he going to be a guy who's a little slower to recover? So it'll be interesting, but I like this defensive line probably coming into spring. You might have said it's one of your weaker units, but you combine the defensive tackles looking pretty good, and then you got an X factor we just talked about, and then those edge rushers. Once you factor them in, man, I'm telling you, this edge room is deep, talented, physical, fast. I wouldn't be surprised if this edge group collectively is one of the surprises of the season this year because they just look really good.
I completely agree. I've written it a couple times. I've talked about it. I think they're well stocked at edge, both from rushing the passer and in terms of playing the run. I think that's going to be a strength of the defense. Preston, I know you'll be covering it tomorrow. Let everybody know where they can find all your stuff.
Yeah, we'll be doing a little post-game, post-practice report, whatever you want to call it, afterward. Me and Mike Scarborough will take this one together. You can follow us on the Tiger Bait YouTube channel. You can subscribe us, Tiger Bait on YouTube. Also keep up with all of our work. If you just want to find one central place to keep up with all of our socials and everything, we put everything on tigerbait.com. So y'all come check us out there, and we'll continue pushing out tons of good recruiting coverage because they'll have plenty of recruits in town as well, and we'll be talking about the game. And I'll say this, unlike past years where you could just watch the spring game, I don't think they're going to have any kind of television broadcast. I think you're going to have to tune in to people to figure out what happened more so than ever.
I'll be the guy down at the end of the press box watching the Masters with the Coke Zero, so you can find me there for certain. So I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Preston. Have a great evening.
See you then, Hunt.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Speaking of the Masters, Rory McIlroy is on the move currently. He has played the back nine, and he's not done with it. He's played it at 5 under thus far, just made birdie on the par 5 15th. He'll head to 16 now. He's just 3 shots off the lead, which is Justin Rose's. He has done today, shot a 71, 1 under par. So lots going on at Augusta. We'll keep you posted as we move forward on today's show. Our Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. We'll come back and chat with Jason Caldwell, who covers Auburn for Inside the Auburn Tigers. Let's talk some baseball with him coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo and his team are phenomenal folks to work with. I would imagine that you don't often run to Google to write a review of your insurance broker. That does happen for the clients over at the Highland Insurance Group because they do such an incredible job handling their commercial insurance clients that folks want to tell people about them, and they do. And you can see on their Google reviews, they've gotten exemplary marks. I give you this story all the time. They had a potential client that had a general liability policy on their 5 commercial properties, and it was a total of $1 million dispersed over 5 properties. They took that policy and they put $1 million on each of the 5 locations, so a total of $5 million in the aggregate, and they kept the premium the flat. That's the kind of thing that the Highland Insurance Group can do by auditing your policy and making sure that it is working the way that it should for you. You spend good money on your insurance, it ought to respond properly. The Highland Insurance Group will make sure that that happens. Call Jonathan or go check him out at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp.
Number 2 coming at you. We'll talk some spring football, talk some Saints, and I got to get you ready for the SEC baseball weekend to come. So looking forward to all of that. Also may mention a little bit about the Masters in the second hour as well. Going to have Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover here shortly. Honestly, if we're being candid, I'm probably going to have Jason from Auburn Undercover once I send his phone number to Jacob Beck here via text message. That at that point, Beck will make the phone call and we will get him on the show.
I thought we've had him before, right? I feel like we've had him on the show. That's why I was like, usually when we have somebody we've had on the show before, I have their phone number.
I've had him many times.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know why. For some reason, I don't have his phone number.
Could it be that you just didn't do the job properly and you did not log the phone number in once we had him on the show?
I don't think so. Is that
possible?
I don't think it's possible.
All right. Well, we'll rule that out and we'll just go with something else that may have happened.
I mean,
incompetence
is it's very possible for me. It is.
User error.
It is.
Good. Well, go ahead and dial Jason up because I'm excited to talk about this Auburn team. This was a big year, I think, for Butch Thompson at Auburn. They were bad last year. This is a Butch Thompson's gotten them to Omaha twice. He's done a really good job at Auburn. They built this brand new stadium. Well, I shouldn't say that. They renovated the stadium and have some talent on that team, but they needed some of the young guys to grow up a little bit, and that seems to have happened. And in my opinion, they've gotten kind of a resurgence from Sam Dutton here, so we're going to talk to Jason about that as well. I think that'll be a good crowd there. The weather's supposed to be good. That's a really welcome sight for LSU because you were dodging rain the entire weekend against Mississippi State 2 weeks ago, and then last week in Norman, like that's just atrocious weather, quite frankly. The more I think about that 3-game series against Oklahoma, the more I'm just like, man, that was a great job to go up there and get 3 wins because the weather could have dictated that anything happened over the course of those 3 days. I know that you're supposed to just be tough and go out there and play and next man up and that whole thing, but playing baseball when it's 37 degrees outside and windy is just not very easy, and that's some of the stuff that LSU was dealing with in Norman. Should be a gorgeous weekend on the plains of Auburn. That's where we find Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover. Good enough to give us a little bit of time. Jason, good to talk to you. How are you?
Hey, hon, I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing quite well. I just said this before we got you on. I just felt like after last year wasn't very good, and you spent all that money on the stadium, like this was a big year. This is a big year for Auburn baseball, and by my estimation, they're off to a pretty good start there at 6-6, and that includes a sweep at Georgia, where I thought they played okay. They were competitive. They just didn't win a game. Is that a fair assessment of coming into this year? What Butch Thompson was looking at?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's pressure everywhere you go. I think Butch is a guy that's really popular with Auburn fans, and so I think he's got some rope there. But you have a year like last year where you're disappointed, hosted the year before and lost at home, and so I think there was some. I think as much pressure as he's going to feel, I think he felt right now, and I agree. I thought they actually played really well at Georgia last a couple weekends ago. Playing Georgia in Athens versus playing them anywhere else is a much different scenario. I think probably the same thing with Texas. I think playing at Texas versus playing Texas maybe away from there is probably a different feel too, because those teams are designed to play in those ballparks. But I think overall Auburn's played pretty well. Still haven't had Ike Irish and Cooper McMurray both swinging the bat well at the same time. And I don't think they played their best baseball yet. And to do that and still be 6-6 and having already played, you've already played Vandy, you played a road series at Georgia, had Alabama at home. Now all you do is get LSU at home, at Texas. You still got to go to Tennessee and Ole Miss. So this league is not easy.
No, it's brutal every single week. It's just, unless you get Missouri, it's brutal every single week.
That's it. Yep.
I know it's just and they're just not good. We saw them here in Baton Rouge to open the SEC slate. Let's talk about Irish and McMurray, and then the rest of the lineup that rounds around. And those guys are stalwarts. They've got over 1,000 at bats at Auburn between the two of them, and they've got good numbers. You just say they're not doing it at the same time. But there's also been a host of freshmen that have joined them in the lineup. So kind of speak to the depth of what Auburn's doing behind Irish and McMurray.
That's been the key for this. It's been somebody different every game. Pace Fralick has been one of the biggest surprises for this guy. He was a tennis player in addition to being a ball player. And honestly, he's a guy that can hit the all fields, does things, big physical kid. And I think he's a guy that's going to hit 20 home runs before he's done. He's playing at Auburn, but he's been really good behind the plate. Bub Terrell, the freshman outfielder, Chris Rembert, another freshman there. They've been three guys that have been mainstays in the lineup, and that's not normal in today's game with the transfer world to have three guys that are advanced enough to play in this league, and they've done a good job so far. And they've added depth to a lineup that Cavallou's been out the last couple of weeks with a shoulder issue. You had Eric Guevara out early in SEC play because of a hamstring, so they've had to go a little bit deeper, and they've been able to kind of hold on even while not being healthy.
Ike Irish is a guy that's been dealing with injury as well. It's kind of moved him off the catcher slot. You expect him to be as healthy, reasonably healthy moving forward?
Yeah, he actually is. He called some inner squad the other day and catching yesterday when I went out there. I think he's done a good job in the outfield, but fractured a part of his scapula, so got hit in the back by a pitch against Ole Miss and missed the opening weekend SEC play. Came back for week 2, so he's been dealing with a less than 100% Ike Irish as well, and so he's actually been swinging the bat pretty well and has adapted pretty well to playing right field. So it's another one of those where you know what you're going to get in this league, and it's a grind. Eric Snow, who's been an everyday starter for him, got hit in the face by a pitch against Alabama and missed Tuesday night, but should be ready to go this weekend. So another one of those situations. But Ike has been, I think he's been doing pretty well, and I think he'll get back behind the plate at some point. But Chase Fralick's been good enough that I don't think it'll be an everyday thing even when that happens.
Sam Dutton, 4-2 on the year. Auburn is 3-1 in his SEC starts. His season-long ERA is 2.66. He's been good by the numbers. What have you seen from the former LSU right-hander in game ones?
Yeah, just a guy that pitches. I mean, I think that's the thing. He's comfortable. They believe in him, and he's a guy that can throw 4 pitches for strikes. So I think that's been the key for him is just pitchability. Not a guy that's going to throw it 100 miles an hour, but a guy that just is been a veteran, been around, and knows how to pitch and is comfortable doing that. So I think that's been the key for him is just, he has that bulldog mentality, and I think that's helped him as well. So I think probably throwing multiple pitches for strikes and just knowing how to pitch as an older guy has probably been his key.
Feels like he may have a little bit of chip on his shoulder this evening facing his former team. Last one on the baseball side, and then a quick football hit, if we could. You look at Saturdays, Cade Fisher's going to get the ball. LSU saw him twice in the championship series when he was at Florida, but he hasn't been able to extend this year. What's kind of been holding him back?
Yeah, I think it's just been a little bit of, kind of gets a little wayward there after 2-3 innings, and it's been a struggle for him to kind of get deeper in games. But he fits really well early and kind of battled through against Georgia. I think that's the thing for him. He's got great stuff. It's just a matter of keeping it dialed in, the second time through an order, some of those things. And, they kind of got confidence in him. They believe in him. And so I think that's been important for him, is that he's got a group that says, hey, we trust you. We believe in you. So I think, if he can start getting 5 innings, you're not asking him to go be Cade Anderson and throw a complete game, but I think you can get him 4 or 5 innings deep into a game and save some of your bullpen. That'd be really important.
Let's talk a little bit of football while I've got you. Tell me about quarterback here in the spring for Hugh Freeze's team.
Just lost you. You still there, huh?
Yeah, I'm here. I got you. So if we could, I still got you. Let's talk quarterback. What's Hugh Freeze got here in the spring under center?
Yeah, no, I think Jackson Arnold's been really good. Deuce Knight has been probably as advertised, maybe even a little better than advertised for them so far. And so I think they've been pleased by that competition, and I think it is a competition. I think it's going to be a battle probably going into the fall. You'll add Ashton Daniels as well, Stanford transfer. But I think, these guys have both played well so far this spring, and you wrap it up tomorrow with it. Basically is all it is. And then you see who can take the next steps over the summer. Jackson Arnold has experience, and it's going to be probably tough to unseat him if he plays well. But Deuce is really talented, and I think he's going to make a push.
Jason, we always appreciate a little bit of time. Great to catch up. All the best to you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover, covers Auburn for 24/7 Sports. Been doing it better than 2.5 decades, in fact. They're on the Plains. Good bud. It was great to see him when Auburn came into the Assembly Center back early in the season. Of course, that one didn't go so well for the LSU Tigers, but Jason's always good enough with a little bit of his time, so we certainly do appreciate it. I think it's interesting because for Auburn's pitching staff, on Friday you got Sam Dutton, who's not immensely talented, that's been really good just throwing strikes. On Saturday you've got Cade Fisher, who does have a lot of talent, but he's not throwing over the plate. And so that's this whole thing in a nutshell. It's the same thing we've been talking about with LSU guys. It's like Zach Cowan is probably not going to be a first-round pick, but he gets a ton of outs because he's always in the strike zone, as opposed to some of the other guys at LSU, like Jacob Myers, for example. That guy throws 97 and has a really sharp breaking ball, but he walks 2 guys every inning he's out there. And you can't pitch like that. In this league, you put 2 guys on base consecutive innings, you're going to give up a 2 spot at some point. It's just too hard to pitch, and that's kind of what you've seen from Cade Fisher all season. It's why he's only been able to go 3 or 4 innings in every start. His longest start this year is just 4 innings, and that's who LSU will see tomorrow. Once Sam Dutton relinquishes the rope, whenever that is tonight, if it's 2 innings, 5 innings, 8 innings, wherever that point is, at that point Auburn gets really choppy with their pitching. And they've got a lot of it, and Butch Thompson's a really good pitching coach, and that's how they've done things over the course of the first 4 weeks. LSU's got to hope that they can get to Sam Dutton pretty quickly and start that choppiness as quickly as possible. That's certainly going to be the goal for LSU tonight. We'll see if they can execute that. All right, when we come back, I'll get you quick caught up on the Master Scoreboard, and there's been a development in the Nico Iamaleava saga that we started yesterday when I kind of gave you my thoughts on the reporting that was going on. We'll talk about all that to close out hour number 1 coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Beck, this is a pretty tasty leaderboard here.
Yeah.
In the top 9, starting at 9 and going up to 1, you've got world number 1 and 2-time winner Scotty Scheffler. You've got major champion and top 15 player in the world and Zurich defending champion Shane Lowry. You've got freak of nature Ludwig Oberg. You've got Victor Hovland, who's looking for his first major and won last week. You've got Rory McIlroy searching for the career Grand Slam. You've got big, goofy Bryson DeChambeau. And then you've got Justin Rose, major champion, 2-time runner-up at the Masters. All that in the top 9.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. Now, it's not going to work out that way because candidly speaking, the last 5 Masters have been kind of sleepy in the last 4 holes. It's been pretty well decided at that point. Dustin Johnson ran and hid, Hideki ran and hid, Scotty's run and hid. Since Tiger chased things down, and he made a bogey on 18 to win the tournament. So it won't work out that way probably, but it looks really good right now for a Friday afternoon. Who's your pick to win at this very juncture? I really like Rory. I think he just after he started this back 9, he's just been striping everything, and he's got what is he 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 under. He was 5 under. Yeah, he's 6 under over the tournament. He was 5 under through 6 holes. So he's really. He just threw up on himself twice on chip shots yesterday, which was just pathetic. I mean, they just can't make that mistake on 15. No. The only thing you can't do from behind the green is chip it in the water. Yes. Leave it 20 feet short, 2-putt for par, and get out of there. Yep. He tries to get cute, hit it in the water. That's no good. And then that's just a terrible double on 17 that he made. I think Bryson's a problem here for me. Not for others. He's 7 under par. He's 1 shot off the lead. Victor Hovland has made, let me make sure my math is right. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, he had made 4 birdies in a row. He just made a bogey on 17. So, it's going to be a really, really good weekend at the Masters. We got Scotty with a lot of golf to play today. Rory's just got to get it in the barn and for the next 2 holes, and Bryson for the next 3 holes. And you still have a lot of guys even in the top 15. You got Jason Day at 4 under. You got Hideki at 3 under, Tommy Fleetwood 3 under, Sam Burns 3 under, actually 4 under for the day. So good round for Sam. Sam will be around for the weekend, almost certainly at this point. And then you got Xander and Sahith, a couple of other guys that really have played well the last few years within striking distance. So this should be this has the makings. The weather's supposed to be great, so this should be a really good weekend. I will watch. I will as well. Good to know. All right, let's talk about Nico. I usually am not going to hammer home a point 2 days in a row when it's not even a team in the market, right? But the story has developed a little bit. Yesterday, we told you that there was a report from Pete Nakos of On3 that Nico Iamaleava was in negotiations with a new contract, is the word that he termed it, with Tennessee. It was unhappy with his current arrangement. And my point yesterday was this. I understand the need for name, image, and likeness. I think it's great that young people can be paid for their marketability. I gave you the examples of Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy and immediately holding up canes, and I think that's absolutely worthwhile for everybody involved. I gave you the example of Livy Dunn, who has millions of Instagram followers and can pitch a product like a clothing line and can be of a lot of benefit to a business and should get paid for that. I think it's great that an LSU baseball player, I'll just use an example, I don't know if he's ever even done this, but like Cade Beloso, guy that's never going to play professional baseball. But if he wants to give a hitting lesson while he's at LSU and make $300 on a Saturday, I think that's great. I think there are a lot of really good things. I'm just not sure the point of this is for a player, a family, and then the representatives around him to go to a booster collective and demand things, or I'm leaving. It's not illegal. I just don't know if it's the right way to carry yourself. And it's not great radio to have a one-person debate or to relay a discussion earlier. And I don't know if Matt will talk about this on his show or not, but we just talked about it in the hall for like 15 minutes earlier. And Matt is unapologetically always pro-athlete. And in his eyes, it's like, dude, if you've got an opportunity to have some earning potential here, just go get it wherever you can get it. And while that's not illegal, I wouldn't necessarily label it wrong in capital letters, I'm just not sure it's the right way to go about things. And I'm just not sure that entering into an agreement and making a decision and joining a team, and again, I want to be clear about this too as I'm going through this discussion. I don't know what's happening at Tennessee. I don't know what Nico and his team are asking for. I don't know what they have, what cards they have in terms of who's willing to pay what. I don't know if Tennessee did something that was not, I don't know the details. It sounds like, to me, they agreed to one thing. He came and played for 2 years. There's 1 year left to go. There's immense earning power for college athletes. And they think in Nico's camp that, hey, if I get out on the open market, I can make more than I'm making right now, and I want to do that. And that's certainly a natural thing to want to make as much money as is humanly possible. But to me, I think once you enter that agreement and you're part of a team, and I believe this is an opinion, that you're making more than you're worth, in my opinion. Of course, someone could counter that and say, hey, you don't know. What if somebody's willing to pay him $5 million next year? And if that's the case, okay, well, I think that's a really bad investment, but that would prove me wrong that he is worth that. I just don't have that information. I just think at this point, you're alienating your teammates, you're burning a bridge within your team, and I think you're acting unreasonably. And I don't believe that it looks like the NFL. In the NFL, you've got a contract. You can't go play for somebody else once you're under said contract. In college, you can just you can forever and ever, amen, use this leverage that you've got with the transfer portal to just strong arm people into massive amounts of money. And that to me sounds more like blackmail and extortion than it does good business. That's an opinion of mine. I just don't feel like this is what was intended. And it's not Nico Iamaleava's fault, and it's not his representation's fault. It's not Josh Heupel's fault. It's the current landscape that encourages this as the way to handle yourself to maximize on finances purely, to me seems a little bit backwards. I don't like that way that people handle themselves. And so we'll see what happens. He did not go to practice today. And if that's his decision, that's great. If he really would like to be at practice, but his representation feels like he's entitled to more, that's a horrible position to be in. I don't have all the information. I don't know. I just feel like there's a better way to go about this than what is currently in place. And hopefully we get to that at some point. All right. Got some Saints football, LSU football to talk about in hour number 2. Come back with us. Friday edition, Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, bathrooms can be a hazardous place. We know that, especially as folks age. If there's someone in your life that is getting up in age but wants to stay in the house and you feel like the bathroom could be a hazardous spot, do what you can to mitigate that risk. You can't take it away, but you can mitigate it. You can put handrails in. You can put non-slip floors in. You can put in a walk-in tub that's more convenient and safer. You can put a shower and it's got a bench. All of that can be handled at One Bath and Closets. I know it might sound like a good idea to go down the street and get the handyman who always comes over and patches some holes in the wall. Go ahead and get a true professional if you're going to handle a huge renovation like this. It's One Bath and Closets. You can start with the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can get the free consultation. There is financing options available. There are financing options available. 0% for up to 18 months if you qualify. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online, onebathandclosets.com.